Thank you for coming along to this webinar supported by the Institute of Swimming today. It's all about supporting people with dementia to lead more active lives. I'm Alex Roberts from the Learn to Swim team, and I'll be hosting this webinar today. And I'm joined by Steve McFadden from the Alzheimer's Society and Ali Noyce from Swim England's Health and Wellbeing team. This webinar, we will be looking at the barriers people affected by dementia face in a leisure environment, perceptions and insights from people living with dementia, and some of the benefits of physical activity for those living with dementia and also their carers. So once the dementia presentation has happened, there will be a short presentation by Ali on water wellbeing. So before we get started, there's just a quick bit of housekeeping to go through. So as I've said, the presentation will be delivered by Steve McFadden. The webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our website and sent round to all of you afterwards, along with the slides. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box and we will get round to them in the questions section afterwards. If you could all make sure you've got your microphones on mute throughout the presentation, just so that there's no background noise that could distract the presenter. And again, if you do have a question, there's little icons down within your chat box that you can say yes, no, go slower, go faster, or put your hand up to ask a question, but we can go from there. And throughout, again, if you can just keep them muted, that'd be perfect. So that's it from me. So I'll hand over to Steve to get started, and I hope you all enjoy the presentation.
Hi everyone, I hope you can all hear me. I'm just going to try and figure out a way if anyone can comment and say whether they can hear me or not. So if anyone wants to put a little yes or no next to their name by clicking one of the buttons below, just to check that I can be heard. Beautiful. Thank you, Alex. Okay, lovely. So yeah, my name's Steve McFadden. I'm the physical activity lead at Alzheimer's Society. So I've been working on this project, looking at how we can support people living with dementia to be more active as part of their day-to-day lives out in their community. Over the last 15 months, we've seen some amazing projects, amazing people as part of that as well. There's been some fabulous swimming examples as well, which I'll go on to later on in the presentation. But we know there's lots of pockets of really good practice happening out there across the country. What we need to do is we need to make sure that those pockets of good practice and the learnings from those are shared more broadly, and that more people can take up doing things like dementia-friendly swimming and other dementia-friendly activities across the country, just so that more people with dementia can benefit and enjoy all there is to enjoy about being active out in their community. So I'm not sure how many of you, I'm just clicking through to the next slide. So it'd be interesting to know firstly how many of you, I guess, how many of you would you say are confident in terms of your understanding of dementia? Do you know what dementia is? And again, if you want to just kind of pop some yes or no's in there, just so I can gauge the level of conversation across. Let's cross there. Just scrolling down, just testing out all the new functions on the webinar, which seems to be useful. Okay, bro. So a little bit of a mixture there. So why we always talk about why this work is so important. So dementia is set to become the 21st century's biggest killer. Someone develops the condition in the UK every 3 minutes, and currently there is no cure. So there's 850,000 people in the UK today living with dementia. And what we always say is they have the right to be treated with respect, not stigmatised or treated any differently to others because of their dementia. And our role at Alzheimer's Society is here to support you as individuals and organisations, projects and programmes. The more we talk about dementia, the less stigma people affected by dementia will face, and the sooner we can work together to find a cure. So what is dementia? Which is a question we get quite a lot. So dementia is, the word dementia describes a group of symptoms that may include things like memory loss, difficulties with thinking, problem solving or language, often changes in mood, and changes in perception and behaviour as well. Some of the changes can be quite small to begin with, but for someone with dementia, those small changes can quite quickly begin to have an effect on daily life. So we talk about dementia as the umbrella term for the group of symptoms. So there are actually over 100 different types of dementia, of which Alzheimer's disease is the most common. So it's the one that people have heard of the most. That is the most common type of dementia, but there are over 100 others as well. This piece of work that I've been working on is funded by Sport England and supported as part of the Richmond group of charities, which is where 14 of the largest UK's health charities have come together to try and provide better opportunities and support for people with long-term health conditions. So we know that inactivity and ill health are intrinsically linked. Evidence suggests that people who are inactive are more likely to have a long-term health condition, and people who have a long-term health condition are more likely to be inactive. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to work on this piece of work to encourage people living with dementia and their carers as well, so those affected by dementia, and provide information and support around activities so that they can continue to be active and enjoy doing the things that they've always loved, or trying new things and enjoying those as well. And what we talk about across our work is being dementia friendly. And often the focus on dementia might seem quite restricted. There's lots of other health conditions out there that can have a huge impact on people's lives. But when we talk about dementia friendly, dementia is such a complex thing, and it affects so many different parts of the brain, that the process and the learning that you develop from becoming dementia friendly actually kind of makes you a better place to simultaneously tackle some of the barriers that are associated with other long-term health conditions as well. So it just makes the work that we do, and what we're trying to say is that being dementia friendly actually just makes things a better environment for anyone to go in, whether they have a long-term health condition or not. It just makes it a nicer place, a nicer, more welcoming place for people to be and to enjoy swimming or whatever other activities it is that they enjoy. So as part of the work that I've been leading on, in February, we launched. My computer's been quite slow. There we go. In February, we launched the Dementia Friendly Sports and Physical Activity Guide, which is available for anyone to download through our website for free. All the links and things will be sent round afterwards. But as part of the process in developing that guide, one thing that we do as part of our work is we involve people with dementia at every stage of our work, and the insights from them are so valuable to helping shape the work that we do, and guiding us in terms of our direction. So we went to visit different focus groups across the country. So we have what we call Focus on Dementia Network groups. So it's local groups of people with dementia and their carers who come together, and they talk about different topics and feed in their input in terms of some of the challenges that they've faced across a range of different topics. So I went to them with a topic about physical activity, accessing leisure centres and leisure providers, and what some of the things, and these were some of the challenges that came back as a result of that, really. So the first thing was worried about other people's reactions. So these were things like people not understanding their difficulties. They were worried that people wouldn't understand what they've struggled with. They had a fear of not meeting the required standards. So in some cases, people didn't feel like they were fit enough, or didn't feel like they were up to scratch in whatever activity it was. And a lack of confidence to find activities that they feel comfortable taking part in. So confidence came up quite a few times across this. So that was around worried about other people's reactions to them as an individual. They were worried about what to expect, so not knowing who to ask or who to speak to for additional support. So if they went into an environment that they were unfamiliar with, not easily being able to identify someone that they could ask for support or advice was something that people worried about prior to going to activities, and often stopped people going to activities in the first place if that was a worry that they couldn't overcome. People thinking about how loud it might get, so that came up quite a lot in terms of sometimes people living with dementia can struggle with loud environments and lots of noise and things happening at once, so they struggle to concentrate and find it really difficult to be at ease and be comfortable. and again, not knowing or misjudging the level of activity that that was on display. So that was something that came up around just general kind of worries and concerns, really. Some of their challenges were around caused by their memory problems. So memory loss and memory problems is something that is a common thing with dementia, but it's not the only thing. But people were forgetting where their locker is. I know Swim England have done some really good work around their dementia-friendly swimming program with things like locker saddles, which are just placed over the top of a locker where people can put a picture in of themselves, so it helps them identify where their locker is in a leisure centre. They're unsure about forgetting or how to use different bits of sports equipment, or confusing information, or being able to find the right words to describe what they need. So sometimes with dementia, we use the example of sometimes people with dementia might point to a dog and call it a horse because they can't quite find the word that they need for the dog. They know it's an animal, but they can't quite find the word, and that lots of variations of that. But some of the challenges caused by those kind of memory problems or challenges with their cognitive functions. And then problems around mobility and navigating around a site. Signage is a really big thing. Really clear, simple signage that people know where the reception is, where to go, where the change rooms are, and making these easily identifiable can be a massive thing for people, not just people with dementia, but their carers as well, in terms of an ease of, a customer journey through a site. Sometimes people have difficulty recognising places and a general fear of getting lost, which is why we say signage and things around navigation are so important, so that people with dementia can feel comfortable and relaxed in different environments. And as you'll probably be thinking, these challenges aren't they're not specific to people with dementia. They're quite general challenges around confidence and I guess anxiety and fear. And these are applicable to more than just people with dementia, and that's why, again, if we say something is dementia friendly, it's more accessible, it's more welcoming to people as a result of making changes to their environment. And yeah, dementia is not just about memory loss. We talk about that a lot. It's so many characteristics and conditions happen as a result of dementia, and just means if you get it right for people with dementia, there's a good chance that you get it right for everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the dementia-friendly sport and physical activity guide. Like I said, we launched this in February 2019, so right at the start of this year, and what we wanted was to create a practical guide, really, with advice, information, case studies in there that gives individuals, organisations a better understanding of what dementia is and how it affects people, but also provides the tools and guidance so that the sector, as a sport and physical activity sector itself, can help more people affected by dementia to lead more active lives and enjoy doing the things that they love doing. So within the guide, we talk about three main sections. So we talk about people, program, and place. So I'll go into a bit more detail of each individually of those in a moment. But generally, we have a checklist of each section across the guide. So it has key actions in each of those three sections in terms of some of the things that you can do. So the people section looks at things like dementia friends and kind of upskilling staff and volunteers to learn more about what dementia is. The program section looks at adapting programming, designing activities, putting on a dementia-friendly swimming offer, those kind of things. And the place is obviously looking at your physical environment and what that means. But changes across all three of these areas can have a really big impact on the lives of people living with dementia. And just generally creates a better environment. As I've mentioned a few times, that's something that we just want to generally create a better environment and a more comfortable place for people to come and enjoy swimming and other activities as well. So yeah, we're working with Sport England, as you can see from the banner on the slide, Sport England and the Richmond Group of Charities, to kind of combine our knowledge as well and kind of share learning and expertise across each other, ultimately we want more people with long-term health conditions, including dementia, to be more active, and those who aren't enjoying physical activity such as swimming and different sports, that they can actually get out, enjoy going down to their local pool or their local leisure centre, and getting the benefits that millions of others do from swimming. So people is the first section of the guide that we talk about. So we talk about Dementia Friends. So for those of you who don't know, Dementia Friends is an Alzheimer's Society programme. It's completely volunteer driven. So we have over 3 million dementia friends now in England and Wales and Northern Ireland, which is a huge number of people that have developed an understanding of what dementia is and have committed to taking action, however big or small that action is, just to support people with dementia in their community. So it's actually the biggest ever initiative to change people's perceptions of dementia and transforming the way the nation thinks, acts and talks about dementia. So it's a lot about, the sessions can be either face-to-face sessions, which can be an hour, which are delivered by a volunteer champion who will come in and deliver sessions for you as a group or a staff group, or run community sessions and things like that. Or people can become dementia friends by watching online videos. So there's various different ways that people can become dementia friends, but we encourage people to do that just because it's you learn 5 key messages about what dementia is, but it's a really good place to start about getting a basic understanding of what dementia is and how you could support someone if they were to come into your facility, or in your personal or day-to-day life as well. We think that's a really important place to start. In terms of making things happen across an organisation, the organisations that have had a really big impact, we've seen them appoint a senior level Dementia Friends champion internally, so someone who champions this work across their teams and across other teams as well, just to make sure that it's really, really thought about across an organisation and across individuals. We talk about creating a supportive environment in this section. So generally a space where people can feel comfortable. So that's being more patient, more understanding, more open to conversations with people, things like that. And then we talk about signposting people to support. So at the back of the guide, there is a full list of organisations and different types of organisations that you can access in terms of support. But when I talk about this section, it's not just for your customers or the swimmers that you work with. It's actually for individuals and peers and things as well. So dementia affects so many people that across your personal or professional life, it's really useful to know where you can signpost people to for support. So it's just making sure people are aware of what is out there. Like there's things like a national dementia helpline that Alzheimer's Society run that is available for anyone affected by dementia who has questions about a loved one or something like that, can call up and just kind of ask the questions and get the support and get signposted to the support that they can get. So as much as that is supporting people with dementia to come and access your services, it's also about signposting people to support internally, your colleagues, your peers and things like that as well. So that is that's what we talk around the people section. So program, this is all around dementia-friendly adaptations and considerations really. So the first thing we say is to look at your existing offer. So you might already have programs, you might already have activities that take place on a regular basis at your pool or your leisure centre, and actually with some small adaptations or inviting in a local group of people with dementia, this could become a really suitable project for them. So it's looking at what I'm very conscious that we don't want people to have to set up brand new programs all the time where things might already be there in place that might be suitable. There might need to be some additional support and things put into place, but if what we're finding a lot of leisure centres as an example are doing is if they've already got an over 50s programme or an over 60s programme or quiet times that they publicise for a range of different people, making sure that people with dementia are considered with this and kind of invited and promoted activity to them so that they can come and take part in what you've already got. You can design new kind of programs, and when we're talking about that, one of the things that has come out from a lot of the insight gathering from people with dementia and their carers has been that social and respite opportunities are so important, arguably more important than the actual physical activity in some cases. So making sure that if you're offering a dementia-friendly swimming program, maybe that dementia-friendly swimming program looks at being a 40-minute session with 20 minutes before to kind of have a chat and meet, and then 15 or 20 minutes afterwards to have teas and coffees and chat. Things like that are actually really important for people to feel connected to their community again, meet like-minded people and other people who enjoy swimming and might be facing some of the similar challenges to them. But also it can create a really good peer support network for carers as well, and gives them a space where they can meet other people and chat through concerns. So there's been some really nice examples of how that's worked across a range of different sports and facilities. So that's something really worth considering. Something really as simple as putting on teas or kind of providing a space where people can buy and drink teas and coffees before and after can be a really big thing for people. We talk about being creative and innovative. So I'm aware that it's quite a new area for a lot of people, and people maybe some of the feedback we're getting from the guide is around confidence of providers as well in terms of putting on these activities for people. We know that not everyone's going to get it right straight away. It doesn't always work first time, and that's okay. We talk about people with dementia and the complexities with it, and actually every person is different and every dementia is different. So something that will work for some might not necessarily work for others. And it's just been about being creative and innovative, but also being flexible with your approach to planning and delivery, and being open to kind of tweak things and move things if needed to support the needs of people. And that flexibility can be a massive thing for people and can be the difference between people coming and not coming. So it's just to think about what I just keep trying to tell people, that it is okay to make mistakes and not to get things right the first time. An example that I use quite a lot is from a rugby club, not specific to swimming, but a really good example of a community group that they put on a community cafe, which had different activities there, and they kind of put on the cafe for the first 5 or 6 weeks, and they had kind of 4, 5, 6 people come into the group, and they were really struggling to get people there, but they persevered with it. They tried to put on new activities and tried to reach out to different groups, all of those kind of things. And actually, as a result of all these small, tiny tweaks and changes, they've now got over 80 people that come every week to this activity group, and they offer about 10 or 12 different activities, but it gives people a choice of what they want to do and how they want to do that. So it's just really thinking about that approach to it, really, and being open and have a conversation with people and say, okay, this might not work for you, but what could we do that could help? So in some of the challenges that I kind of talked about earlier, if people are worried about what to expect or their expectations of not meeting certain standards, a conversation often can kind of break down some of those challenges, and you can reassure people that actually there is no kind of minimum requirements in terms of speed or fitness or things like that. You can come and do things at your own pace. So just having that conversation and being flexible is really important. We talk a lot about engaging with local services. So across the country, Alzheimer's Society is quite a big organisation. So we have over 2,500 staff members in various roles across the country. And a lot of those work in local services. So we have people like dementia support workers who interact with families affected by dementia on a regular basis. And people with dementia kind of access various different services, from things like dementia cafes or singing groups. And often they're looking for new activities to do and different things to try. So there's a ready-made audience there of people who are living with dementia or affected by dementia that have links to Alzheimer's Society services, that actually having that conversation with them, engaging with local services and telling them about what you've got to offer in terms of your swimming offer, or kind of thinking about how you can link in and support people with dementia in your capacity as either a volunteer or a coach. But yeah, it's kind of looking at that, different ways that you can do that. And then the other thing is just about being part of your local dementia-friendly community. So across the country, we have over 400 dementia-friendly communities. So these are groups of organisations across a town or a village or a city that are all working together to become more dementia-friendly and serve the people in their community. So often it's people like, it's businesses, it's things like leisure centres, it's banks, it's supermarkets, and they're all part of their local dementia-friendly community. And that means that they can share learnings and share ideas, but also promote activities amongst each other. And just it's a really good way of accessing people affected by dementia and letting them know that you have products or services or facilities that they can access and enjoy. So that's talking about the program section. The play section we talk about, it's all about looking at your physical environment really. So at the back of the Dementia-Friendly Sport and Physical Activity Guide, there is a self-guided accessibility audit that you can look through. So that is basically at the back of the guide has different parts of different sports facilities. So it might be a reception area or changing rooms or poolside, and that kind of feeds in some of Swim England's specific dementia-friendly guidance as well. But it just makes you can have a short walk around your site and just consider certain things in terms of whether they are dementia-friendly and whether there's some really easy wins to kind of overcome some of those things that might be barriers for people. One of the things we talk about is it comes up in the dementia friend session. So often for people with dementia, kind of large blocks of dark colour can sometimes be perceived in their with their dementia as a whole, as a dark hole. So a large black welcome mat on arrival at a leisure centre for someone with dementia who maybe isn't able to communicate as well. That might, to someone without the understanding of what dementia is or how that might affect someone, they may just see someone not wanting to go into the leisure facility and not really understand why, but actually things like that, like not having a dark black mat or making small adaptations can really help people and do that. So I think the next point is it's being aware of those potential barriers and challenges for people with dementia, and we're not asking people to be experts at all. Dementia is such a complicated thing that there's thousands of researchers and scientists that have a really in-depth knowledge, but Dementia Friends just gives you the basic understanding in a really simplified way that gives you the tools to just kind of think about how it might affect someone, and then if you're in that position to help someone, then you can do that. So yeah, the audit looks at things like the signage and the lighting. So in terms of the signage, it's looking at making sure all signs are clear and prominent and at the right height for people in kind of good, well-lit areas. And the same with the lighting, it's kind of making sure that lighting is as consistent as possible, reducing shadows and glares and pools of light and things like that. So there's lots of different things to consider there with place, but the audit tool at the back of the guide is really good just to have a wander around and see where you think that might be a challenge for people. So I just wanted to give you a little, there's a couple of case studies we've got here in relation to swimming, which I thought would be useful to touch on, just to kind of put it into context really. So Tracy on the screen is, as you can see, a retired nurse. She's currently living with dementia. I met Tracy on the third day, I think, when I started in my role about 18 months ago. And she's been kind of a huge part of the work that we've done ever since. So again, as I said earlier, we try and work with people living with dementia to get their first-hand experience and their knowledge and input, and actually work. Tracy's come out and spoken at conferences with me, and she's featured in a video with us. And she's basically a fantastic ambassador, but shares her challenges and her experiences with people, so that they can understand that it's not just people who are over 50 or over 60 that have dementia. It can affect younger people too. But yeah, and just putting into context some of our challenges. So we worked with Tracy to produce a video which is on our website, which we can send around the links afterwards for. So we just having a drink there. So some of the considerations that Tracy kind of told us about that she would say to leisure centres and providers. So Tracy generally goes to the gym 3 times a week. She's actually been injured. She's injured her ankle over the last 6 months, so she hasn't been able to go to the gym. But what she has been doing still is she has been swimming, which is brilliant. So she finds that even though she's not able to do her regular gym-based program, she can go and swim and do some level of activity and keep going, and it gets her out in the community. She feels like she gets a lot of benefits from being active. As we all know, there's obviously so many benefits with it, but she loves that now, and I think once her ankle is better, I think she will still continue to swim probably more than she does go to the gym, which is brilliant. But yeah, she said that really important things for her to consider were ensuring that staff understand what dementia is and the ways that they can support people. So, example, with certain different technologies, a lot of kind of leisure centres and things are modernising, and some people might need additional help with things like that. And also identifying her locker. She was aware that sometimes she would forget which one was her locker, so she'd often have to ask someone at reception to help her locate her locker, or she would leave her key with someone behind reception to get that, so that they could then help her with it. Support for people to use equipment that can require some coordination. So Tracy talked about that she really struggled with the cross trainer when she first joined the gym, in that her brain couldn't process the different movements at once. So it took her a lot of explanations from the instructor within the gym over a number of weeks, and time to kind of get used to just moving her legs first and then bringing her arms into it. But that kind of time and perseverance was really important, and now she can use that by herself, and she might need to be shown how to use it every now and again, but generally she can kind of function on that machine. She talks about she does sometimes worry about her that she might forget how to swim, so she hadn't been swimming for a long time before she went in the pool recently, and her kind of concern was around, would she still remember how to swim, and she did, but she said, in terms of chatting to her, that it would have been really helpful just to know that there was someone on hand if she maybe wasn't as comfortable as she used to be at swimming, that could just kind of be there as a bit of reassurance for her around that time. Yeah, she said for her, a big thing is around her confidence, which came up in the challenges earlier, that it takes her a while to build up her confidence with things, and actually before she started going to the gym, she just went to kind of look around the gym, didn't go the first few times. She just went to familiarise herself with the setting and with the environment. And that can be the case across different projects that we've seen, that sometimes hosting a cafe group or something within your facility or your site can be really important to just make people feel comfortable in that environment, and then introducing the swimming or the other activities around that as well. So that was something that came up, and she mentioned around the gym and the leisure centre can be quite loud at times, like I mentioned earlier, and she finds that quite overwhelming. So maybe having quiet times and areas where people can kind of take time out, or quiet areas where they can just get a bit of space in a quieter area that isn't overwhelming and daunting for them. But yeah, she's absolutely loving her swimming at the moment, which is show music to all of your ears. But there's lots of other people out there like Tracy that, with a little bit of adaptation and support, can mean she can remain independent and keep active. And it's since she's been going to the gym and keeping active. She was walking with 2 sticks, but now she's walking with 1 stick. And she's kind of reaping a whole other bunch of health benefits as well. So she's a really good example and a really good ambassador. So if you do get 5 minutes, it's really worth watching Tracy's video. She's a really good speaker, and actually she was on the Sport and Recreation podcast just this month, talking about all of her challenges and how she reaps the benefits. So if you get a chance to listen to that as well, it's worth listening to. I just wanted to touch on some information that you might have already seen. So Swim England's work around dementia-friendly swimming. So a lot of the work and the information that they produced went into the Dementia-Friendly Sport and Physical Activity Guide. So there is a case study in there which I'll go into in a moment. But yeah, there's information here on the Dementia-Friendly Swimming Hub, where there's resources and fact sheets and things, just so you can find a little bit more specific detail on swimming and dementia. So I thought that was just useful to flag. But there's There's a case study on this page as well, which talks about a lady called Alice, who's 88 years old and living with dementia. So she learned to swim at quite a young age and enjoyed swimming in her spare time until when she was a teenager. She now lives in a residential care home, and she has kind of challenges that often people do with dementia, with things like her speech. She kind of struggles with mobility and challenges with walking. She can get around a little bit, but she had a conversation with a dementia-friendly swimming, with an activities coordinator in the care home, and encouraged us to take part in dementia-friendly swimming sessions. So she went to the sessions once a week with other residents of the care home, and she's been reaping the benefits of the sessions. She says she considers herself to be more active. Her water confidence has grown. She feels a lot better since she started going to the pool again. And she actually enjoys getting out of the care home, socialising with other people. I just think it's a really nice case study to show that people who have swum when they're younger might still be in a care home, but with the right support and the kind of right information around what they're doing, they can still really benefit from it. And for me, the main thing about this is that she was encouraged to take part by our activities coordinator, and without that nudge and that encouragement from that individual, Alice wouldn't be benefiting from swimming, and she wouldn't be seeing all the benefits around it. So it's really important that we always say that everyone has a role to play in supporting people, and that can be becoming a dementia friend and finding out more information so that you're more equipped in your knowledge to support someone. But it can be something as simple as encouraging people to go and try swimming, or try activities, or visit a leisure centre and have a look around. Those kind of things can be really important, just to give people a nudge in the right direction. The case study that we use in the Support and Physical Activity Guide is from the Brooklyn Leisure Centre. So they became dementia friends across their leisure facility up in Derby. They created, with Swim England's guidance, dementia friendly swimming programme, and then they linked with dementia friendly communities officers up in the area, and kind of worked with local services and people affected by dementia up there to kind of connect existing Alzheimer's Society services and what their offer was. So yeah, some of the adaptations and things that they come up with were things like in-pool guidance for participants who needed it, improving the selection of swim aids on offer in the pool. So it was just a range of things that suited a range of different people's needs. They kind of updated signs in the changing village, and often they can be things like, they don't have to. We know that a lot of facilities don't have a huge amount of funding available, and it's, if there's not an upgrade or a facility development happening at the moment, it's kind of considering that for the next stage. But if there is a specific session that happens at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, for example, are there laminated signs that can just be put out to help people navigate their way around the changing village around that session, so that people can have a little bit of additional information to make sure they're comfortable. They introduced things like the locker location finders to help people get back to their locker and identify which one was theirs. Like I mentioned, they got carers to meet during the sessions and provide support. Some examples of sessions have had, I think there was one up in Sheffield where an individual with dementia went to a mixed activities group. So they went to a multi-activity session. And off the back of that, the carer went swimming whilst they went to that activity, and the carer lost a huge amount of weight and has reaped, again, the health benefits that come alongside swimming. So it's a massively important thing for the carer and the individual to be active. Social activity is a huge part of it, and things like practical things like providing wider lanes for people who lack the confidence, and making sure that those lanes are potentially near the side of a pool, so that there is somewhere for someone to hold on to if they need to. And that kind of has helped them kind of gain their Quest assessment as part of their leisure facility. A really good kind of practical example of how someone has worked with the information and the resources that they have, link that to Alzheimer's Society services and people with dementia in that area, and really kind of figured that out with Swim England's resources to pull something together that worked, and means that people with dementia and their carers can really enjoy getting in the pool and having a swim. So I think that was most of the information from me on that. Yeah, the information there about the Swim England website is there. So it's swimming.org/dementia friendly. Our website, alzheimers.org.uk/sport, where you can go and download the guide for free. So that is there for anyone. And if anyone wants to request physical copies of that, then they can as well. So they can either email Program Partnerships, which is on there, or send an email through to our publications team, who can sort that out as well. But yeah, I think the closing thing for me is that obviously there's lots of opportunities for people to do different things, but I would just say that the one thing that I've learned since being in this role in particular is that don't underestimate the impact that you as an individual can have, whether that's you as a coach or a volunteer or someone within a club or as part of a local authority. Every kind of action can have a massive impact, and if you do something that means that someone with dementia can come and access and go swimming once a week, that can sometimes be the only activity that they take part in a whole week, and they can revolve their week around it. So it's really important just to not think that it's just you, that you can't do anything. Actually, there is a big role for everyone to play in making sure that people have the right support and just can keep enjoying things that they want to do. So yeah, I'd go think about becoming a dementia friend, download the guide and watch the videos. We've got Tracy's video and a couple of other videos on our website as well. So that'd be worth having a look at. And I think my next slide is just if there's any questions. So I haven't been monitoring the questions box, but I think Alex has been doing that. Is that right?
Yeah, we haven't actually had anyone type any questions in. So if anyone has any questions specifically around this, I'd like to ask Steve, or if there aren't any, Steve, are there any common questions that you have come in regarding getting involved with dementia and the Alzheimer's Society?
Yeah, I think often people don't realise. I think people don't realise what's on offer locally, and I think people sometimes struggle with getting people with dementia and other long-term health conditions to their projects. And the one thing that I would say is to reach out to our local services. So on the Alzheimer's Society website, there's a thing called the Online Dementia Directory, where it's a postcode finder tool where it lists different activities and things that people with dementia can access. So it's mainly for carers to search and people with dementia to search for things that they can do in their local area. So one thing, if you do have a dementia-friendly swimming session, you can list that on that platform as well. But you can also search by wherever you are, look at what activities are around you, whether that's cafes or support groups, and just kind of drop them a note and say, we've got this activity, would your group be interested? Those kind of things, and just making those connections, because that's where we've seen the best impact from the projects. It's linking our local services with kind of sport and physical activity offers, and just putting the two together and just finding something that works for everyone in your area. That would be one of the main things that people come to us with.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And it seems like there are a lot of tools out there that can be used by centres and sites for this, so that's really good. We have actually just had one come in the chat box, which is, what support is available from Alzheimer's Society to organise and manage a swim session at a local centre? And do they rely on volunteers, or is there a route for qualified swim teachers to become engaged?
In terms of that, it would depend locally. So our local services all operate on a different level, but there are definite opportunities locally to engage with that, but it would depend on your local area. So I would suggest kind of doing that online directory search for your postcode and seeing what's around, maybe contacting a local staff member. So we have staff members like dementia support workers, who in some cases will support people with dementia to access different activities, and they may take them or kind of be around when things are happening. So I know that happens in some leisure centres where dementia support workers will be present at those activities, one, to have conversations with people and make sure people are all right, but be there as an extra pair of hands if needed. We also have a volunteer program called Side by Side, which kind of matches members of the public with people with dementia based on their interests. So often if there's people that want to help, they could be matched with someone with dementia in their community. And if swimming is an activity that they want to do, they can kind of support them to come and do that, and again be around to kind of help. But yeah, our local services will be best placed, I think, to kind of help make those links and figure out what is available locally. It won't be the case in all places, depending on capacity, but they will, if it's something that is enabling people with dementia to get out and be part of their community. Like I said, those dementia-friendly communities as well are volunteer-driven, and often they'll be led by volunteers who give a lot of time to support people in the community, and it might be something that they can support with on a regular basis as well. So I would definitely make those links locally and see what the best opportunities for you are.
Okay, great. There's another one that's come in that is, have you piloted anything with regards to Alzheimer's and open water swimming, and by the looks of it, and/or another aquatic activity?
So we haven't. The first piece of work that we did over the first 15 months was looking at leisure centres, sports clubs, and gyms. So that has predominantly focused on leisure centres and areas around it. Our next piece of work is moving more into outdoor spaces. So that is something potentially we could look at. I haven't heard of any examples come up. But that's not to say that we've had examples of dementia-friendly rock climbing examples, all sorts of things that you could imagine. So there's no reason why not. There's a lot of kind of aqua aerobic type things that happen, or examples of where people have used kind of pools with adjustable floors to kind of make it a bit more inclusive for people with dementia in some cases. So there's definitely things there that we could do, but not that I'm aware of that's happened as of yet. But if anyone has any ideas, then feel free to send them over. They might be able to fit into our next phase of work. Or if there's any really good examples, then do share them, because we've got some really good networks and communication channels through all of our staff members, and millions of dementia friends across the country. So if you've got really good examples, then please do send them to us, because we can help you share those case studies.
Brilliant. I think one more's just come in. When you say outdoor spaces, Steve, are you meaning walking or green gyms as such?
It is a very broad area, but it covers a lot of things. So it covers things like walking in National Trust sites. It's things like using those kind of spaces in green gyms and in parks and things, but also things like cycling, golf. Outdoor swimming hasn't come up on our agenda as of yet, but there's no reason why it couldn't. And we're just in the early stages of planning the next kind of 3 years of activity and what that looks like. So outdoor spaces is a very broad term for us at the moment, but any examples within that, we are looking at that over the next 3 years, just to try and ensure that there are a variety of ways that people can be active, not just in your traditional sports settings. I think that's what we're trying to show with this next piece of work.
So it's trying to make it as open as possible to everyone and anyone, really.
Yeah, and I think with this piece of work, we're finding that not everyone wants to go to a leisure centre, or not everyone wants to go to a gym, and it's just giving people the options of all the different activities that they can do. And it might be that people really enjoy swimming, but they find the leisure environment really noisy or crowded. So actually, open water swim with the right support might be a really good alternative for them if there is something locally available for them.
Okay, yeah, that's really, really good. Another one has come in which say, have we got any examples of links to exercise referral schemes specific to dementia?
So we are, obviously there's a lot of talk at the moment around social prescribing, and again with our next piece of work, I think we've seen it happen in a couple of places, not in again those little pockets of good practice where it's worked really well, where people have kind of recommended for people with dementia to go to certain activity groups and activity classes. I think one of the examples from I guess Tracy's example being one in her area, she was referred by a GP onto like a physiotherapy strength program, which took her into a leisure centre, which then kind of supported her with physical activity, and then she's kind of built and developed on that from there. So we see little examples of it. Again, this next piece of work is more looking at how we can influence at a policy level as well, in terms of making those things and getting different offers out to people with dementia through GP networks and various different things like that.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions that have come in so far, unless anyone has any other questions they'd like to ask Steve before we move on. If you do, just simply put them into the chat box now. There we are. I was involved in the dementia-friendly swimming program in County Durham, and although self-referrals were strong, the engagement from health professionals was poor. Do you have any guidance on this from any other areas?
Yeah, I think that's something that comes, and again, it depends on the area. It's really tricky, and I think one thing that we're finding is that there's barriers at different stages, and we're at a national level trying to influence GPs, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and help them kind of link into the work that we're doing. We do have good networks through Chartered Society of Physiotherapy and kind of Royal Society of Occupational Therapists, things like that. So we're trying to do that from our side, but we also have kind of regional kind of policy teams as well that are trying to work on a regional and local level with like Local Public Health England and NHS England, people like that. But yeah, we do know there are gaps. It's not something that we've managed to overcome in every area yet, but it's something we'll keep plugging away at, because we know that those barriers do pop up. So that doesn't really answer your question, but we are aware of it, and we are working on it to try and make sure that it isn't a barrier for people.
Okay, great. So I think that is it from everyone. So shall we hand over to Ali Noyce from the Health and Wellbeing team, who will take us through a short presentation on water wellbeing.
Do you want me to do the slides still, Alex?
Yeah, sure, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I'll do the slides.
Thank you, Steve. If you could just move on to the first slide, that'd be fabulous. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ali Noyce. I'm a Health and Wellbeing Manager at Swim England. And actually, just to add on to a question that just come in around the value of swimming. And I say the value of swimming because there was hot off the press. Swim England have commissioned a report and a investigation, and it's the most far-reaching investigation by any national governing body around the benefits and savings that can be achieved through someone getting in the water. And whilst we talk about swimming, what we also try and talk about is aquatic activity. So for some individuals with long-term health conditions, including dementia, the idea of actually swimming conjures up going to a pool and just seeing people going up and down in lanes swimming, and we all know there's a lot more going on in the water than that. So we try and talk about aquatic activity. But the Value of Swimming report was literally launched yesterday, so hopefully we'll be able to send the link out when we send you details of the recording of this this webinar. But the fact is, by swimming, the health savings on an annual basis are £139 million for dementia patients alone, which is a significant amount of money, reflects the number of people living with dementia in the country at the moment. And that was presented to Parliament yesterday. So in terms of the question around what's happening around it, with the momentum of the Value of Swimming report, one would only hope and hopefully guarantee that there'll be additional focus on how we can achieve more participation from those people living with dementia getting into the water. But I will just then go straight on to our water wellbeing model. And Steve mentioned there about the Dementia Friendly Swimming Project, the work that the Alzheimer's Society do around physical activity. And as a result of the Dementia Friendly Swimming Project, we had feedbacks from sites to say that, you know, that's great, and it was successful, and it was great to hear somebody there on the chat that is already part of that project. But the feedback is actually, can we just look at those living with the other multiple types of long-term health conditions, whether they be physical or mental? And as Steve quite rightly says, if we can make a leisure centre and a pool and the experience that that user has dementia friendly, we pretty much can accommodate most other long-term health conditions. So the water wellbeing model was created We just move on to the next slide, Steve, if that's okay. Thank you. So the water wellbeing model was created off the back of the Dementia Friendly Swimming Project and the Swimming and Health Commission report back from 2017, which is 130 pages if you'd like to read it. However, it fundamentally said being in the water is great for you. So yeah, next slide if you would, Steve, thank you. So our water wellbeing model focuses in on something some of you may be familiar with, the 3 frontiers model. And if we're thinking about an individual with dementia who perhaps it's been suggested that they may want to get into the water to improve their health or even have a good time, then it's really important that that whole customer journey is relevant and appropriate and is a great experience for them. So our three frontier model looks at the whole journey. So frontier 1, as you can see from there, is about the swimming's visibility. So if someone's not been into a leisure centre or not been anywhere near a pool for maybe 10, 20 years or even more, how do they find out about it? Well, sometimes it will be going on the website for your particular pool or leisure centre. Does your website look inviting to somebody that perhaps has got their own individual challenges? Is there a range of demographics? Is there a range of abilities on that website? And is the information there that's relevant to the individuals to break down some of the barriers that those individuals have that Steve talked about a moment ago? The frontier 2 is then all around what's it like to actually get into the leisure centre and negotiate yourself to the pool. And this is very much around us supporting leisure centres and having a welcoming environment, making the leisure centres as inclusive as possible, and ensuring that the individual can have a great experience as they travel into the leisure centre and get to the water. And then the third frontier is about what we actually do and what the individual can do when they enter the water and tailoring it to their needs. That might be a specific dementia-friendly swimming project or session. It might be just a family fun session that we know is dementia friendly to enable someone with dementia to come along with their family and friends and their carers. Or it might be a specific exercise class or a session in the water that we know is able to accommodate those people with dementia in a very friendly and professional way. So next slide if you would, Steve, thank you. So this is just a one-pager, and I'll just talk you through what the Water Wellbeing Programme is all about. So it's managed by the Health and Wellbeing team at Swim England, and the start is really for us to come out, meet with you guys at your centre, and just to look at where you are at the moment, because everywhere I go with the sites I go to, there's some fantastic things happening, whether it's around dementia or other long-term health conditions, some super stuff happening, and actually we do need to shout about that and share that with information with everybody. But we look at what's happening there, what gaps you've got, maybe something that you want to move into that you're struggling to get the message out, and we'll create an action plan with you. We're fortunate at Swim England because we have created numerous relationships with other organisations, and one of our strongest ones is with the Alzheimer's Society. So we will come out and just review what's happening now and how we can help. We'll also support your teams and your workforce with some customer inclusion training. Currently that's delivered face-to-face, but from the end of November there is an online option which we've done in partnership with Activity Alliance, which is an hour to an hour and a quarter of online inclusion training, and that's really aimed at the people that interact with potential users coming into the leisure centre. So that's for the people that work in the cafe, people on reception, the lifeguards, the swim teachers, just helping them understand the challenges that people face and how we can break down the barriers and make those small adjustments that Steve mentioned earlier, like removing a black mat, helping the user try and find their locker and return to their locker, and helping them negotiate the building with the right signage to enable them to get to the pool, and also, more importantly, to be able to comfortably exit and make their way home. So we've got the training on offer for that. We'll also do, and as Steve mentioned earlier there, the environmental audit or checklist that we call, we do with your site. So we'll come out and we'll walk around your leisure centre and pool and offer some hints and tips and give you basically an action plan that will help you make your leisure centre more inclusive. Not about spending a huge amount of money. As Steve again said earlier, it might just be that we have to make some small adjustments until the next rework of the branding or the rework of the signage. But just to be aware of what challenges your pool has got is a massive first step for your staff to be aware of that. Within the water wellbeing module, then we've got 4 different areas, and I'll just cover those off. And again, if someone decides to work with us on the water wellbeing programme, and we're currently recruiting for more sites, you can choose one or more of any of these elements. So the first one on the left-hand side is a pool pod. For those of you who have not seen the pool pod, it's an electronic lift that enables those people with or without a wheelchair, with any mobility issues, or literally people that would struggle to get into the water with a normal steps, or perhaps a lift or a hoist of the more traditional method. This is not just about the disabled patients, those with long-term health conditions, even heavily pregnant women, parents and carers with very young children who struggle to get down the steps. The pool pod is a fantastic piece of kit. So that's one of the elements. The next piece, and this is an interesting one, somebody mentioned it earlier on, around exercise referral. So in most leisure centres, we have a GP referral programme where we've got level 3 GP referral instructors working really hard and offering some fantastic options for their patients coming in. But predominantly that will be on dry side, so whether that be in the gym, Pilates, yoga, etc. We offer a 2-day course through the Institute of Swimming, which is called Aquatic Activity for Health. And what it does is it takes the physiology knowledge and experience of those GP referral instructors and adds in to their portfolio the benefit of the aquatic activity. So that will enable them at the end of the course to be able to produce specific exercises for individuals using the water and the benefits of what comes with being in the water. And as part of that, they can either create their own group exercises and group sessions, or maybe a bespoke session for that particular individual to do at their leisure on flexible swim time. The third element, and this again came up with Steve's case study, where someone that has a long-term health condition actually could do with some support around learning to swim. So we provide additional support to swim teachers, which is either CPDs, online training, additional guidance and sessions on specific health conditions, and for some teachers that are covering normal classes for children and adults, what we provide is laminated cards which give some hints and tips around specific health conditions, just to help them understand what adjustments they need to make and what's the effect on that individual. So plenty of support around that. And then the final element is something called Good Boost, which is a new introduction over the last year or two, where classes or individuals can go, classes of people can go into the water using a tablet, which has a software app attached to it, which will enable the individual to have a bespoke exercise regime, exercises on that tablet, but individual to them. They feed in responses at the end of each exercise, which overnight with artificial intelligence will then tweak those exercises to make it more stretching or easier for the individual according to their health condition that they've keyed in or how they felt on the day. So those are the 4 different elements that we run. Overriding all of that, we provide ongoing support around reaching out to other organisations. Here we're talking about Alzheimer's Society, but we have lots of partnerships with other organisations should you wish to be involved with specific health conditions, and I'll come on to that in a moment. And there's the additional training, webinars, there's the health fact sheets that are on swimming.org. We'll send a link out after this webinar. And ongoing support, and we're continually building on those health fact sheets, and they're available free of charge. And finally, the other piece is really important to us, which is around share and learn days and evaluating the water wellbeing model. What's really important is we're able to get the benefit of the experience of all of the operators and pools that we're working with, getting them together twice a year just to talk about what have been the successes, share the case studies, and as importantly, collect what have we achieved with this, which we'll then put together and then send back out again to support you guys with any subsequent funding applications to other organisations that you might need. So we kind of got the economies of scale of lots of people all working on this project in their own specific way in their own pools, but sharing all of the information and case studies to have a more impact across the country. For the water wellbeing model at the moment, we've been running for 18 months. We are looking for new sites to work with. We're building it. Our ultimate goal is to get it across a whole of the country, and we're on that journey. So next slide, if you would, Steve, please. Thank you. Thank you. There's just a quick couple of pictures here, because I know Good Boost sounds a little bit complicated, but as you can see there's a group of individuals, all who are doing their own specific exercises with their tablets, but are interacting as a group and have an instructor with them that will guide them through the tablet if they struggle with any of the challenges, and also engage. And it's more of a social gathering as well. And generally these type of sessions, they'll meet in the cafe for a cup of tea and a piece of cake, either before or after they go in the water. Next slide, please, Steve. Thank you. And these are the individuals, as you can see, Alzheimer's Society is on there, but these are the other organisations we're actively working with at the moment to support members of those particular organisations into the water for some activity. As you can imagine, lots of leisure centres and pools will already have some of these relationships, but members of these organisations aren't necessarily the ones that are walking through the doors of the leisure centre on a regular basis. So it's about reaching out and attracting those individuals in for a great experience. And the next slide. And just going back to the GP referral. So this is very simple terms what happens with our pathway on aquatic activity for health. So we get the patient being referred in by a health professional, or sometimes even a special, just a self-referral. We will do the initial consultation, or someone from the leisure centre does the initial consultation. And sometimes it's dry side that is absolutely right for that individual, but sometimes it needs to be in the water because of the risk of falls, because the benefits of the water for some people with certain health conditions. And then we look at what activity they're then going to do in the water. Are they just going to come in and have a swim in a specific session, or just a general family swim? Are we going to go through the exercise referral and have your own specific sessions, specific exercise classes, or maybe the Good Boost route with the tablets?